Oh, invaluable. In fact, I took our entire 16-member legislature and flew them out to Tucson, and we went through the full session of the DVDs, and I thought it was one of the most valuable things that we've done for our government because they weren't seeing the big picture. I mean, I've been involved with NNI for the advisory board anyway for 14, 15 years, and I'm the one that goes to NCAI, and I'm the one that goes to all the meetings around. So my perspective, I have the problem of making the assumption that people in the legislature have the same perspective that I do, and I find that because of their lack of exposure to contemporary Indian ideology and governmental concepts of native governments, that they haven't been exposed to that. They understand sovereignty, I believe, finally, but it took a while. And then once we achieved that, then we started talking about what advantages do we have, even though we didn't have any money or any land or any people working for us or virtually nothing. How do we turn that into something? And what you do then is you start to leverage your sovereignty, and you start to build a tax base. And once you build a tax base, then you create some more jobs, and you cultivate your credit, and so on. We were really tight with our money too. I mean, first 11 years I was chairman, they didn't pay me, so it was one of those things where we watched every penny, and we expected folks who worked for us in a government job to be conscious and as helpful as they could be to our tribally owned enterprises. So we had a little, not illegal, but we had a little bit of a mix there, especially accounting, for instance. The accounting people were keeping fund accounting for our federal programs, and then they would have some hours that we would buy from them where they would keep the accrual books for our businesses. Well, they say every great fortune starts with a small crime, but having the federal employees make sure that we had a good set of books in our enterprises was important to us, and it was a resource that we couldn't afford otherwise. But for tribes that are starting out, the first thing they need to do is make sure that, and we spent 8 years selling our constitutional amendments before we actually did them. And once you enfranchise everyone and you give them some skin in the game and some responsibility as well as some privileges, once you sell that idea that the tribe belongs to them, the culture belongs to them, and that what they're doing right now is seed corn for the future. I mean, you can cook and eat the seed corn and get one last meal, or you can put it in the ground and have corn forever. If you start to view gaming money or start to view tribal revenue as seed corn for the future, then, in fact, all the balconies in our casinos and a good deal of the decor, there are quite a number of cast iron corn plants put in the wrought iron work around to remind our people that gaming money is seed corn for the future, and that we fund a tremendous amount of tribal programs from that. Tribes just starting out would, in this day and age, would just now be starting out because they've had dysfunction for a long time, and they've created a sense of dependency. Dependency, on the federal government. I mean, how can a tribe say they're a sovereign if all of their revenue that operates their government and provides all the services of the people is furnished by someone else and not themselves. I mean, it's an act of sovereignty to be commercially and economically independent. Not to say that you shouldn't, if the money's there, we go after federal contracts and compacts the same as everyone else does and use it to enhance services. But like our health services, we've always taken the position we're family physicians in our health clinics. And if we have a Potawatomi that married a non-Indian and they have Potawatomi kids, since we enroll in dependency, I mean, if you got a Potawatomi father and a non-Indian mother, when mama's sick, everybody's sick. So you ought to be able to treat the non-Indian spouse. So the last two clinics we built with our own money and not the BIA, so we can serve whoever we choose to. So we serve our non-Indian spouses and we serve our employees and their families. And we don't spend any IHS money for it, but we have enough quality now in our physicians that almost all of our people who have insurance and can go anywhere they want to use our clinics because of the quality of the facilities and the kind of care they get. So our third-party billing revenue is higher than our Indian Health Service revenue. So we could leave IHS at any time if we wanted to.
True acts of sovereignty.
It's a true act of sovereignty, but then again, you'd be walking away from a big pile of money. But we see that as an opportunity. We're building an MRI and CAT scan center right now that we think that most of the other tribal clinics around us, we have 5 tribes literally that we border on. Those 5 tribes, if we offer basically the same analytics and diagnostic work with those machines that they're getting now, then there's no reason why they can't spend their contract health dollars with us, especially if we cut the price and give them more for their dollar. And we see it as a potential revenue source. And one of the things we can do, like on a CAT scan MRI, where we spend a couple $1 million on equipment, that can be depreciated over a very short period of time. But we don't pay taxes, so we can't use depreciation. But our bank is a for-profit C corporation. It can lease that equipment back to the tribe and take the depreciation to offset its revenue. And then when it's depreciated out, we pay full market value for it, or the remaining market value for it. And the bank gets to save that much income tax. We did that with slot machines. Tribes are not, if tribes figure out a way to use their depreciation and play all their advantages, all the land we buy, for instance, we buy under the 1982 Tribal Government Tax Status Act. And we'll go to people that say they have a $2 million piece of property and say, well, after you sell it, you're going to get hit with a capital gains tax of, probably $300,000, $400,000. If you'll knock the $300,000 or $400,000 off of the price, we'll let you carry the note for 5 years at 6% tax-exempt interest. Well, 6% tax-exempt right now is the same as 8.5 or 9 taxable. So they end up with more money in the pocket after taxes than they would otherwise, and they carry the note. Now, if we want to free that land up, free the debt from it, so that it can be put into trust, then we just create a defeasement investment at the bank, assign that as collateral in a trust, and pay off that note, and away we go.